Welcome to another episode of the Fanzone Podcast, your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Welcome back to another episode of the Fanzone Podcast. Back with you again for episode 53. Slight change in lineup this time. Ange couldn't make this one, but of course you've got myself, Cole and Chris with you this evening. So thank you all very much for joining us. We can already see some comments coming through into the chat. So a good evening to you all. I hope you've had a fantastic weekend, and that result on Saturday will make it all a little bit sweeter for you. So yeah, welcome back. We're excited to bring you this one. But just before we get started, we've just got a little message for you. As always, we'd like to say a huge shout out to our sponsors or headline sponsor for the 2023-24 season, which is, of course, Eco Warm Windows, the very best in the business. If you'd like to find out more about Eco Warm Windows or the rest of our sponsors, then if you head over to our website, www.thefanzonepod.co.uk, you can find everything you need over there. Also on our website now is a little blog section as well. So our most recent piece is quite a nice read actually on Ian Evatt and the story so far. So that touches on a bit about how he came up from Barrow, his sort of style of play, how it was implemented there, and obviously how he brought that to Bolton Wanderers. So if you fancy having a little read, then check that out.
It's a good ounce of positivity.
It certainly is.
That article.
But without further ado, we will get stuck into the good stuff. So this evening's episode, Stoke the Fire. I think Saturday's result would have certainly done that and probably put some fire into bellies for people into the coming weeks as the promotion titled or charged season is well underway.
Title charge, Ben. Title
charge. Well, what?
Yeah.
Well, whatever your aims are for this season, I'm sure promotion is the underlying one that everyone wants. And yeah, I think Saturday's result it was a big 3 points and certainly would have given the lads a much needed boost after what has been a little bit of a rocky patch, I think, following what started off at Wigan, which feels like a lifetime ago. But Chris, we'll hand over to you first. What were your thoughts on Saturday? How do you think the game panned out? If you are watching at home, stick your comments on and we will get them on.
The more the merrier. The more comments, the merrier.
Absolutely.
Pile them in.
Yeah, but Chris, fire away.
Well, I've only just dried off. Just for reference, I base my match day attire on the weather for last season at Port Vale, which was about 40 degrees. So I didn't have a coat and I got very, very wet. And I think I've only just dried off now. That walk back to the car was grim.
It was indeed. Just on that note, I think on the way into the ground it was raining as well, and I heard Sam. Obviously, for those of you who don't know, Sam's Chris's son. Has got quite a little bit more hair than Chris over here. And on the way in, I heard Sam say, "Oh, I've got diluted conditioner in my eyes." And on the way out of the ground, I heard Chris behind me say, "I've got diluted moisturiser in my eyes."
Yeah, it takes a lot of work to get.
It's a very modern man family, that of Chris's. As you can probably ascertain from them.
Metro, I think the term is. But anyway, but first half, I think, in summary, I thought the first half yesterday for me, and I include Cheltenham in this, which was obviously a dominant free scoring first half. That was my favourite first half performance of the season. I thought we were excellent. We did miss that killer clinical edge, of course we did, but in terms of controlling the game, allowing players who had to step in to sort of acclimatise and protecting players in positions where they wouldn't normally play. I thought we were brilliant. I thought we were really, really good. And I think a lot has got to be said for Evert's tactics leading into that game, because it's no easy place to go. They were flying. And to come away with a clean sheet, a 1-0, with a threadbare team with two youngsters on the bench who, it's no mean feat at all. It was, I thought it was a phenomenal performance. It could have been so different if it wasn't for Nathan Baxter's save straight after Dion had scored. Massive moment of the game. And I think you've got to absolutely off your cap and give a big shout out to them fans behind that goal yesterday. Nearly 2,800 of us.
Yeah,
that was unreal. From the applause for the Port Vale supporter who unfortunately passed away. Bolton fans started that before the referee blew his whistle. And it's just those little things that kind of amount to those brilliant away days. And that for me yesterday was one of them. I put it up there with a few from last season.
Yeah,
Peterborough's and all that kind of stuff. It was an absolute cracking away day, considering there was no trains. 2,800 fans in that end was phenomenal, and they were brilliant. And that reaction at the end, which Marcus caught on video, of Baxter swearing, on Lunderloo grabbing the camera, all the players giving it the big guns. It's just brilliant. It's just one of those great away days. And I know it's only Port Vale, and no disrespect to Port Vale, but they've had a great season so far. So to go there and do that, I thought was excellent.
Absolutely. As you said, Port Vale's no easy place to go for a team or for the fans, actually. A lot of you touching on that. Chloe has said, Port Vale away, what a vibe, but not them toilets. I think a few words could be said about those. The exit at the end of the game was a little bit busy. I think the 3 foot wide path accommodating 3,000 fans, or near on 3,000 fans, probably isn't cracking either. But yeah, it was a great game. The fans were excellent. Hayden has actually compared the atmosphere at this game to Derby away last season, which I think is a good.
I think it's worth mentioning as well. It's a good point that, Hayden, actually, that the number of fans in that away end yesterday was not far off, maybe 200-300 away from what we took down to Pride Park last season. And you think about the facilities at Pride Park and I don't want to start, talking about facilities and stuff like that, but you think about what it was like compared to Pride Park last season.
An actual concourse.
Yeah, that was borderline dangerous. That yesterday, that was really dicey. That for 3,000 fans.
It wasn't. Cole, what did you make of the game? Obviously, a huge 3 points for the lads with a very sort of misshaped bench from what we'd normally expect. Obviously, depth is really suffering at the minute with the amount of injuries. So how pleased were you to then come away with 3 points?
Yeah, very pleased. I think the word I used, I know the word I used to describe the victory yesterday, as soon as the final whistle went, was professional. I thought the first half we attempted with our threadbare kind of team and squad to go for the juggler, in inverted commas, and I think try to kill the game off. And obviously, like Chris alluded to, we were missing a little bit of the clinical edge to a degree, but obviously up steps Dion, and Dion does what Dion does best. And obviously we scored just before half time, which bit of a cliche, but it's always a really good time to score. The juggler wasn't quite got at, as I'm sure Everett and his coaching staff would have probably hoped for in that first half, because we did batter them, to be honest, in the first half. and as a consequence of that, obviously the second half was very much on Port Vale's side of things. And I want to pay a bit of homage to them actually, because the way that they're attempting to play, certainly from what I've seen highlights wise, not necessarily yesterday, because I think they had to change it a little bit to try and get back into the game, because they kind of realised that trying to match us wasn't working in that first half. But you can tell they want to play a little bit and do things the so-called right way. And they were very impressive in the second half. They had that plan B that every Bolton fan seems to think that we don't have. And obviously they started playing a bit more direct and testing us a little bit from a defensive standpoint. And I think that's where we can rest in comfort in a way, knowing that we've got such a versatile, robust and impressive backline, because I think the backline yesterday was fantastic. Special mention to, of course, Owen Toll and Idale, as well as Forrest, who obviously we've touched on being our man of the match. It was very close between all them three centre halves. I thought they all played very well. Obviously, Idale has had a bit of a poor start to the season, and I'm sure he'd probably admit that himself. And obviously, as I'm sure we've seen on Marcus's coverage, obviously went straight to him after the game and congratulated him for such a really good performance. And they were all three of them were fantastic. And they needed to be, because we were up against that second half, and it's a point that, dare I say it, is a 3-point championship type result. So them type of results that you don't necessarily walk all over teams and batter teams, and you still come away with 3 points, and it's such a difficult place. That's very impressive. Yes, another ramble from me, but I'm sure you got the gist of it. But yeah, they're my thoughts after yesterday.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Ben, before you continue, I saw a question before. Who was it that asked the question? Somebody asked a question about whether or not Forrester got a bit of a bad reception from the fans. He got a little bit of booze, I think, from what we could hear.
Yeah.
Really hear a great deal, to be honest. They did the best to make a good, as best atmosphere as they could. But I think all in all, I think he got a pretty good reception, in fairness to him.
Yeah. There's always the odd few that will not give them a warm welcome back. But I think as far as match reactions go, everyone in the chat has agreed. I think one of the biggest points that people have made was the atmosphere being one of the best in quite a while. Certainly the fans did a good job behind that net to spur the lads on, like we did against Peterborough. So a huge credit to the club. I think the atmosphere that's created, seemingly both at home and away. But as Cole touched on briefly, we will head into our Fanzone Man of the Match. So there's been a few contenders for this. Very, very split. Even in the chat, people complimenting different players. If you want to give your vote to someone, then pop it in the chat.
I think that's what a win does, though, doesn't it? It makes people compliment and praise pretty much all 11 or 14, depending on subs and stuff. So
certainly does.
Yeah, it's unsurprising, really, that a lot of people are getting different shout-outs.
Absolutely. We'll touch on some of them now. David Green has said that he's been highly delighted with Nathan Baxter, 9 league games to assess him, and he passes all the tests.
Yeah.
A sublime bit of business to bring him in on a free amongst competition from other clubs, even in European competitions. So to bring him in, I think was fantastic, and he's certainly lived up to that so far. Hayden has said Unlundulu looks so much better on the wing, which I think is another good point. I think yesterday he did have a tendency to drift out wide. Obviously, his role would have been up front, but there were occasions where he drifted out wide and offered support to the wing backs. And I thought his performance yesterday was seriously good.
Yeah, I mean the first half for Dan yesterday, I thought it was outstanding. I think it were almost unplayable. In all honesty, they didn't really know how to handle him. I think it goes back to what I said before, and kind of the plan was to kind of go for the juggler, and he was on it from minute one, chasing every lost ball down, using his body well, bringing everybody into play, chasing the channels, doing all the dirty stuff that you expect your forwards to do. Yeah. And he ran his socks off in that first half, and I think he tired after an hour. But maybe Everett said to him, give me a solid hour, and then we'll make some changes. And he certainly didn't do his chances starting on Tuesday any harm whatsoever.
No, not at all. I know when Bod came on, I think Dan had looked to flag a little bit, but after the way he'd ran his socks off for the hour before, as you said, Colin, I think he did himself justice absolutely, and it's great to see him sort of finding his feet after what had been a rough start for him in a white shirt. Chris, how did you assess Mlundalu's performance?
I thought it was brilliant. I was talking to Col about, we were commenting on it in that first half, because obviously he was stood next to me, and it was like, I think a lot of people and I think a lot of people have been critical of him, and I think rightly so. I think he's been critical of himself. And it's not been great. It hasn't been great. But people were saying yesterday, it's such a, he's going to do better because the bar's so low. I just think that's pathetic, to be perfectly honest with you. The lad worked tirelessly. Like I say, about an hour, and then he started to visibly flag and struggle. It was heavy conditions. It was raining. It was hard work. He was all over the place.
He doesn't start very often either, though, Chris, does he?
No,
you know what I mean?
No. I think the best. I think the biggest commendation you can give him is to say that he was very much like, it was a very, very Adebayo performance. He did a lot of things that Victor does very, very well and doesn't get the credit for that he deserves, in terms of holding the ball up, shielding the ball, moving his body and using his body and putting it in a position before the ball is coming into him. He moves defenders around really well. And I haven't seen that before with Mlundalu. I haven't seen that attribute of his game. And we saw it a lot yesterday in spades. Plus, he did what he normally does, which he's running some bizarre sort of directions when he does bring the ball under his control. And I think he confused the crap out of the Port Vale defenders a lot of the time. It really, really flummoxed them. But I thought he was brilliant. And I loved his reaction at the end of the game. There was a lot of unity in that team yesterday. There was a lot of togetherness, and there was a lot of like, look, lads, we got our backs to the wall here. We men down, injured, suspended. And we did miss. I mean, Thomason was a big miss yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our pivot was
off.
There were times when Morley tried it. Some times when Sheehan kind of tried it a little bit, and it just didn't work. Unfortunately, it wasn't as effective as it is when Thomason's playing. But I thought Mlundalu was excellent yesterday. I didn't get my man of the match.
Dan played confidently yesterday. Chris, Ben.
Yeah,
you could
that
tell
Salford game's done him the world of good, I think. Getting them 2 goals, getting that thing off his chest with the lad he played with at the academy at Southampton who died last week. I think that's been, obviously that's only a week or so ago, but I think that's been playing on his mind, and to get that off it, literally on his vest, off his chest, I think's really helped him. And the performance in getting 2 goals against United.
The proof will be in the pudding, though, because it is important. Although he's put in a good performance yesterday, he does need to start contributing from a goal output perspective. Yeah. So he's likely to start again on Tuesday evening, and he needs a goal in the league.
Yeah, definitely.
As well as he's played yesterday, it's very, very important for him to follow that up with a goal on Tuesday evening.
I think
should be trying
I think
to it.
when we were talking yesterday, saying that his first half performance yesterday reminded me, very much of Victor's performance away at Cheltenham earlier this season.
Yeah.
In the first half, in particular, at Cheltenham, very, very similar performance. And off the back of that, we all know what happened in the next game against Fleetwood with Vic. It elevated his game. He bagged a hat trick. I'm not saying that Dan's going to score 3 against Stevenage on Tuesday, but I think it's a great jump off point for Dan. It's very, very early days. Let's not get carried away, but give credit where it's due. He was excellent yesterday.
It certainly presents.
Saying in the chat, Ben.
I'm just going to say it certainly presents a fantastic opportunity for him to kick on. We've had a few plaudits for other players. Dale has said, I think Will Forrester looks like a quality signing. David Jones has followed that up and he said Forrester was immense. We've had a few in the chat that says Liam has actually said Sheehan man of the match. He's been excellent for weeks and as good as he's ever been. Brandon,
that's a good. Sorry, Ben. That's a good reference. That at the end of that comment that he just made, then is as good as he's ever been. So I think that's the key to that. I think he actually is as good as he's ever been in a white shirt, and it's so good to see. Not just because of the injury that he had, obviously, but he's just so good on the eye, isn't he?
Yeah, he certainly is. His Wales call up is perfect recognition for that as well. I think
more of an offensive output would be nicer though from him, even being overcritical. But his overall game is liquid on the eye.
He contributed to Dion's goal, to be fair to him, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, from his own perspective, like he obviously scored late. He scored towards the back end of last season, didn't he? From about 20-25 yard out, top corner.
Yeah,
so
and the other night against,
you know what I mean?
I know it's only under 21s, United's under 21s, but I thought both his goals showcased what he's capable of. And I think you're right, more of that in a league game. I mean, think about his first goal for us, which was
MK wasn't it?
MK Dons in the 3-all. I mean, what a goal that was. Definitely more of that because he's clearly got it in his locker, hasn't he? So.
Absolutely. We've had another one for Forrester. It said Forrester played really well again. The lad has taken his chance. Brandon has said, I think Baxter was outstanding. Great saves, commanding, claiming every cross. Brilliant. Some very important saves to keep us in the lead.
Just referencing Dan again, Ben. Can we pull up Ian's comment and read that out?
We'll go through them. So Brandon has said you could tell London was up for it when the teams walked out. He clapped the entire way and numerous times. Liam has said Dan is the epitome of a confidence player.
Epitome.
Epitome.
Yeah, that one. You couldn't have just let me add it, could you?
Definitely not. It don't work like that, does it?
Leslie has said, I think he's shown us why even Everett signed him. And Ian has said, isn't it funny that Unlundulu played better after having some praise from the fans recently? It's almost as if the constant name calling or abuse doesn't help. Who knew?
I think it links in with that point about the epitome of a confidence player. The two things go hand in hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wind him up, watch him go, give him that boost that he needs, but let's not get carried away. At the end of the day, he's there to do a job of his own volition without the fans constantly sort of raising him. But definitely, some of the abuse just does not help one bit.
No,
and that is not being a happy clapper, by the way. That is just telling it how it is.
It's balance. It's called balance. There's a big difference. There's a lot of grey areas, and there's a lot of stages between happy clapper and meltdown merchant, or whatever you want to call it.
Meltdown merchant. I like that one.
I couldn't think of anything else.
You're a poet and you don't know it.
Absolutely. Liam has dropped a comment on, but I'm not even going to try and read it because whatever word is used, I'm just not even going to try. So I think we'll move swiftly on to Colin's section, which is, of course, his pre-match presser.
Liam's trying to do Ben dirty there. Big time. I'm loving that.
I did go looking for my sunglasses then, by the way, to put on, but I couldn't find them there, so I apologise. Stevenage at home on Saturday. Let's talk about that one then.
Tuesday. Hang on.
Tuesday. What did I say?
Saturday.
Tuesday. Sorry, Tuesday evening, like I said before. Obviously, another important game going into that. We've got George Thompson back, which is obviously good news. Likely to have, I think, maybe another one. One at the Rabbit Hat, I think, might come back for Tuesday, be it on the bench, whoever that is, I don't know yet. Yeah. But I'm feeling like that little card's going to be played sometime soon. Hopefully it's Rico Santos, because them lot like to mix it up a little bit early, so we could do with him, to be honest. But yeah, how are we all feeling going into that game? Obviously, it's an important one to win. Obviously, we need 6 points out of the next 2 home games. How are we feeling, Ben? What are you saying?
I think I said to you before Port Vale I was quietly optimistic, and I am also quietly optimistic about Stevenage. Obviously, there's no denying that they've got off to a fantastic start to the season. There's no denying that. Probably surprised quite a few people, to be fair, but I think on the whole, like I said, I'm quietly optimistic. I think 6 points out of the next 2 home games would be fantastic. I would be very happy with 4. I would be delighted with 6. So, yeah, I think Stevenage will be a tough game. There's no denying that, especially with, the Tuesday run that we've just had. So I think it'll be a challenging game. It'll be a demanding game. But I'm looking forward to it, and I believe the lads are more than capable of coming away with 3 points.
Absolutely. I just want to nip a comment in the bud before we continue. Paddy BWSE has put, is Colin wearing a man bag with his Stoney t-shirt on? Or is that in the photo?
It's a man bag.
Definitely not a man bag. It's one of my friends has got a BMW M3, and I was in that in the passenger side. So, that's what it is. It's a BMW belt. It's definitely not a man bag.
It'll tell you anything.
But it is a Stone Island t-shirt, may I add. So, yeah. Also, that t-shirt was from Turkey, and I think it was 15 quid. So, I'm being completely transparent with you. That's what it is. Tony Island. So you might not see that picture again because we might get that changed now, but never mind. No, yeah. Chris, what are you saying about Tuesday, my friend?
It's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, on paper, it's a home win. It's the first of 3 home wins coming up, but you never ever underestimate the Steve Evans team, because it'll bite you square on the arse. And what bothers me is that, and I'm probably going back to the last season where we saw instances where Everett was outmanaged and out-strategized by the more kind of experienced manager. We saw it a couple of times last season, and I'm hoping that we don't see it again on Tuesday, because they will not be rolling over.
Yeah.
So
we did see that last season, Chris, but I think we saw that with teams who have got more experience on the pitch and better quality on the pitch.
Yeah. But I think with these, the next 3 are all teams that have been promoted. Come into our place, new tellies, nice LED ribbon.
Cup final,
isn't it?
That'll be the talk in the changing rooms.
Yeah, it is. Of course it is. They've got no lose. It's a free hit. Any more cliches we can think of? I don't know.
Put them in the chat.
Hey, yeah. If you want to put your cliches in, stick them in there, and we'll shout them out. But it's not going to be easy. It isn't going to be easy. But take the confidence from Saturday. Take that togetherness from Saturday. Play how we play at home, put those factors together, and I don't think you can see anything other than a home win that's going to come back and bite me on the arse, isn't it? But I don't think you can.
Just touching on what you said then about being outmanaged by some of the more experienced or senior managers in the game, I think yesterday was probably a good example that those banana skins, those teams that we perhaps slipped up against last season, that first half performance, I don't think you could have asked for anything more heading into that. It could have been so easy for us to, as you said, turn up, expect the 3 points, and come away with none. But I think that was a classic example of how far we've come.
It was, and I'm inclined to agree with that comment. However, what I would say to that is they, as good as they were in the second half, the first half they were poor and they showed us far too much respect.
They did.
That allowed us to take complete control at first half, as well as the fact
that, didn't they? They mentioned that their manager mentioned that there was too much respect. I just say, just going back to what I was saying about being outmanaged, because memory doesn't work like it used to. Thank you, Brandon. One of the examples was obviously losing at home against Accrington last season, and John Coleman. Fair point. That was one of them that I was trying to rack my brains for. So thanks, Brandon.
That goes completely against what I said then about having better players, doesn't it? So cheers to that, Brandon. Thanks very much.
It's cup tie football, isn't it? It's your giant killing kind of approach to a game, nothing to lose, going into a big stadium, and all that. You got to remember that we're in this league for a reason. It's not going to get ideas above our station. We've got to go out there and do what we did on Saturday and battle.
Absolutely, yeah. Who starts on Tuesday? Asked Brandon. JDB or Ulundulu? Ulundulu after yesterday's performance, whether people like that or not, but it has to be him.
I still don't think Body's completely up to speed. He only had half an hour. He only had half an hour against
tidy, though, isn't he?
Port Vale.
He's just all the touch, and
he just oozes class. His movement is second to none. As simple as it is, his movement when we picked up throw-ins high up the pitch, the way he moved past defenders to get him available and bring other people into the game. It's just he's just got everything you need from a centre forward.
You say that, but he needs to use that because he's got about as much pace as me.
Yeah. I think you said that actually yesterday, Chris. I thought you were like, you or it might be your lad actually. So he's, what do you say? He's not very quick. I said, but he's got his brain.
His acceleration isn't there. It's like he's stuck in first a little bit. I love the guy. Love him. He's a class player. We've all said when fully fit and fully firing, Dion Charles and Jon Daddy Bodvarsson is our front two. So, and I'll die on this hill for that. But whether it is something that's still lingering from his injury, or whether I don't recall him having pace in the first place, there was a couple of instances where we were very much playing on the break in that second half, and the pace just wasn't there.
I do feel with JDB that I think he's more of a centre forward that we could utilise from a starting perspective when we're at home as opposed to when we're away.
Yeah,
he's more of in that environment.
Yeah,
more suited to be starting from at home.
You have also got to remember as well that he's just come back from injury, so he's not going to be up to full speed. He's not going to be anywhere near it.
Look at his minutes. He's not got them, has he?
He's not. So what might be lacking now, you might say after a run of substitute appearances or starts, should he get up to that level. But as you said, I think Dion and JDB, we saw it just before his injury last season where he was just sort of getting there and Dion and JDB was sort of linking up and that partnership was starting to Jon
might be up to speed. He might be. It's always hard to tell when you're only playing 20, 25 minutes. What might be happening is Vic and Dan might be showing more in training, and that's why he's getting started before him. ultimately that's what they're judged against, isn't it? Really, as much as anything else, it's how they get on during the week.
Yeah.
And if they're showing more than him, then that's why they're starting and he isn't.
Absolutely, it's a great point. Is that all from you, Colin, on your
yes
post-match preview?
Pre-match
presser,
pretty much presser, yeah. Absolutely.
Brilliant. Nice one, Ben. At least we know what we're doing.
It's one of those evenings, I think.
We're just happy because we won yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. So without further ado, I'll get this one right. We will go into Chris's Fanzone Fan Focus.
It's that time again. So we've got a cornucopia of different topics and
what's with all the fancy words tonight?
Because you can't say them, and I can because I'm dead clever, me. I don't know. I just felt
I tell you what, Chris, give us a read of this one. Let me go and find it. Just give us a read of this.
Ben, what do you think about the what? The permanent? I can't even say that. I can say ecumenical, which is yeah. I think that's a Father Ted reference, actually. That, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's just a Google search reference.
Yeah. Give us a big word.
Yeah.
But
I Siri.
But at least I can say epitome. Anyway, first one comes from Brandon, and I've spent too much time thinking about this myself, Brandon. Thoughts on Aaron Morley?
Oh, good question.
What a hot topic that is.
It's a hot topic, but it's not a topic really anybody's really discussed, is it?
No, I don't think so either.
Makes any sense whatsoever.
And he follows that up by saying that we need the old Morley back, and I couldn't agree more. I think yesterday, the two halves yesterday and the contrast between those two halves and how Aaron influenced those two halves typify the issue that we started to see it as the season came to a close last season, where he kind of dropped off. He went missing in games. So yesterday, let's look at yesterday, for example. In that first half, there were shades of Kieran Lee. There was some brilliant Morley moments in that first half yesterday. And then you can counter that with the second half, where there was a lot of, as Brandon said, and I agree, a lot of needless, sloppy passing. He does suit a bigger pitch, Liam. But
is it needless, sloppy passing, or is it just tired, needing games?
I think what you can counter yesterday with is the fact that he's not had the game time. It took it out a lot of players yesterday, and I think you saw it. Obviously, with Lundaloo, he's not been starting games. He tired out. A few players kind of dropped off the pace in that second half, but I think it really does kind of highlight the issue with Aaron Morley. And I'm not sure if anybody else noticed it on Tuesday against United reserves, under 21s. I beg your pardon. Ian Ebbott. Yes. I was sat in the West Stand for a change. A few people saw me in posh seats, and that nothing to do with the podcast anyway. But it gives you a real insight.
That's where our budget's gone.
It's gone, Colin. Now it's gone. Now it's not coming back. Leave it. And Ebbott, and we were right behind Ebbott, and watching him. He was managing Morley all the way through the first half. He was all over him. It was relentless, and it wasn't pretty either. He didn't pull any punches with him. I think he knows that there's something not clicking with Aaron at the minute. Whether he's getting shortchanged by him a little bit, maybe. Whether I don't know what it could be. Whether it's anything to do. Obviously, he's going to be a dad, and the things that come with that, perhaps. I don't want to talk out of turn. It might have nothing to do with that. But there's something not. I mean, Aaron Morley is a fantastic footballer. We've seen it time and time again. His range of passing, was like we said with Sheehan earlier. He's got a shot on him. He's got a free kick on him. Charlton last season. There's a player there, and I ain't ever going to write him off. No way, because he's good and he's good enough. But I think Brandon's just mentioned there's frustration around him at the moment.
Do we expect a lot for a lad who's still only 23?
I was just going to say I don't actually agree with any of what's being said. Yesterday, I don't honestly think he was actually that bad. I don't think he looked off it, apart from a few instances in the second half.
Which they could all be guilty of that in the second
exactly.
half.
I think that was highlighted more because he'd been out of the team due to his poor form, and then he came back in, and people obviously saw those same things and said, "Oh, he's still not up to it." But at 23, I don't think we can ask too much of the lad. And yesterday, I've got stats from his game yesterday. Obviously, he got the assist for Dion's goal. We can't really compliment him too much on the assist because Dion's work to get the ball from where he put it to and to finish it
on his arse.
was just sublime.
Still gonna find the pass.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Aaron Morley yesterday only misplaced 9 passes. He had an 81% pass accuracy, so that was 9 misplaced passes all game, which is neither in or there. That's 1 every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
He created 3 chances, and he had 2 efforts on goal. He made 5 passes into the final third and made 5 recoveries all game.
Pretty 7 out of 10 performance, that real, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can't.
Solid.
I understand the frustration with his performances prior to that, but yesterday I think, as far as it goes for a 23-year-old coming back into such a competitive side after being out of it for so long, well, not so long, but out for long enough, I think yesterday Aaron did himself proud, and I'd stand by that.
Yeah. That's put me in my place. I'm Brandon. But as Brandon says, counter that, it'd be interesting to know if that was in the first or the second half. I think he definitely there was a visible drop off in the second half. I think is the point that Brandon's making, and I tend to agree with that.
Yeah,
and maybe we have been treated. Maybe we have had,
spoiled by him.
Yeah, we've been spoiled with a lot of early form with Aaron as well, because he has. I mean, bloody hell, he hit the ground running. He was exceptional.
Chris, I don't know whether you remember, or anybody who's, sorry to interrupt, whoever's watching, who's quite a few of you tonight, actually, so thanks very much for joining us. I know he scored against Ipswich last season, on the first day of the season, but did he start slowly last season, or am I imagining that? Does it notorious to take a little bit of time to get good?
No, but if you remember, when we beat Wickham at home 3-0, him and Dempsey were like unreal. He was cut them open. Like, the pair of them was unplayable.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Ian's put in. I don't think Morley's football intelligent enough. Technically, he's great, but managing the game is truly awful. I think that goes back to what we've just paid reference to about his age, because obviously that comes a little bit in time in terms of the understanding of what's expected of him tactically. And he's still learning, isn't he? And he obviously is in a team where, from a tactical standpoint, there's a huge demand on definitely the midfielders as much as
I was going to say, there is no harder position to manage a game from than as a midfielder. And at 23-year-old, to expect him to manage a game out for 90 minutes against the top side so far this season that are notoriously difficult to play at home, I think is just outlandish. I mean, as a midfielder, you have defensive responsibilities that in a high-pressing, high-energy team, you have absolutely nowhere to hide from. The defenders have no going or very little for going forward responsibilities. They have the occasional, room to drive, but then it's laid off. Aaron and the rest of the midfield, Dempsey especially, has got so much to do, and to expect someone to manage a game for 90 minutes after being out of the side, I think it's a tough old challenge for any old player.
And he may very well be crapping himself because he's going to become a dad. And I'm with you with that one, Aaron. And I'm 10 years older than you. So
it's tough. It is tough. It's a big life change, but I'm sure. I mean, he's a fixture and fit, and he's an integral part of what we do. But yeah, hopefully we will see him back at full tilt very, very soon. Other points which I'll skip through a little bit. I'm just conscious of time. Leslie commented about Nathan Baxter. Solid, great business as a free signing. Couldn't agree more with that, Leslie. I mean, especially considering the gloves he's had to fill, if you will, in James Trafford. I think he's been magnificent this season. He's had moments. He's had a couple of moments, and he's still learning. His interview early this week, I thought, was unbelievable. You've not seen it. It's on Wanderers TV, £5 a month. I know. Well, there you go. It's worth it.
That's Chelsea's media training for you.
Unbelievable. The lad has got.
I think he's just had a good education on the outside of football. He's a very intellectual bloke.
We were talking about it yesterday. He used to play cricket at a very, very good level, and that obviously shows he's a bit. Obviously he's been schooled correctly, and he's come through the right from the right upbringing and what have you. He does speak very well, but his confidence is just unbelievable, and you need that as a goalkeeper.
I was speaking about not only Baxter but Cogley as well. Sorry, Chris. To fill
in for Connor to come in and do what he's done. And
I woke up to a tweet this morning from James Thomas at James Belly. He said to me, "Crazy how a few months ago I said Trafford and Bradley were irreplaceable, being him, and you questioned me saying no one is. How right were you with the evidence so far?" Obviously, that therefore what he's alluding to, obviously, is the fact that Baxter and Declan Cogley have arguably been our best performers so far this season, excluding Dion, obviously.
And as well with Declan Cogley, again, there's a Q&A with him, and I've noticed a few of our viewers. Dan Berry had a question in there. There's been quite a few. He's not only been brilliant, but and obviously stepped into Connor's position really well. But you speak to him, listen to him speak. Should I say? You speak to him if you want. If you want to stalk him, do whatever. But
whatever you're into. We don't condone that, by the way.
No stalking, please. Not like me and Lloyd Isgro. But he speaks so well. It's like he's been here for yonks. He's so well invested. He gets it. I don't recommend any other media than this, the Fanzone Podcast, but go and watch that on Wanderers TV because it's brilliant. It's a brilliant interview, and he speaks so well.
Seems as I'm a stat man for this evening, I've got another one for you. So, just on Josh Dakers-Cogley, there are 3 players in the whole of the 92. This was 6 days ago, so it may have changed after the last game.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
But players in the 92 who have created more than 6 big chances in the league this season. Mo Salah currently sits at first on 8.
He's all right.
Dakers-Cogley currently sits on second at 7. Jody Jones of Notts County sits on 7 alongside him, and that's the end of the list. And that's across the whole of the 92.
Very good.
Some player.
He pays reference to his journey as well a lot, doesn't he? How he's had to take
Birmingham, Tranmere,
It's a good 2 forward type of thing.
He's very strong-minded, really intelligent footballer. He's got his head screwed on and not much phases him.
Tidy.
Like that. Yeah, very, very. So, obviously, one of the things, I'm going to go off a bit of a tangent now, but one of the things that has been very much in the media spotlight recently with players like Ivan Toney and what have you is the issue with betting in football, etc., and how it needs to be managed, etc. But I think as well, you've got to think about how that affects us supporters and how we have a flutter every now and again on the match. So what we're doing today is something a little bit different. Is we've got a guest with us who's going to be joining us any second now. Someone who, without getting too soppy, has become a good mate in the last nearly 12 months now. So I'm going to introduce Jack Barnes, and Jack is right there. Evening, mate.
Hello, pal. You all right?
Yeah, good. Are you?
Yeah, good talk.
Good. So those who don't know Jack, Jack is it project officer? Is that the right title?
Yes, project officer for health and wellbeing.
For health and wellbeing, no less, at Bolton Wanderers in the community. Yeah. From a personal perspective, Jack has helped me massively. For those who don't know, I did Fit Trotters and I lost 16 kilos and 24 centimeters off my waist through better habits, eating, bit of exercise here and there. Nothing massive, loads of incremental changes. So I'll take this opportunity to thank Jack and his team for that. But that's not what we're here for. So, Jack, do you want to just introduce yourself and tell us more about your role with Bolton Wanderers in the community?
Yeah, so like I just said before, I'm project officer for health and wellbeing. I've worked there for 6 years now. I originally started off volunteering on a session called Kicks, where you go to like local areas and give children free opportunities to play football. Then I started to volunteer in schools and then went full time. Started to deliver PE in schools, coach a bit of football as well. And then I got the opportunity to then go on to the health and wellbeing side, which never look back really, because it's absolutely class, changing people's lives every day.
What more can you ask for in a job, eh?
I know, yeah.
Absolutely.
And thinking about you as a person, Jack, obviously, I mean, I think I've probably seen you more at away days than I did at Fit Trotters, to be honest with you. Obviously, you're a massive Wanderers fan as well. Tell us a bit about how the role came about, because I didn't know this till earlier. Brilliant.
So obviously, like you just said, I'm a massive Bolton fan. I had a season ticket, thankfully, to my mum and dad from the age of 3. Now the grand old age of 28, so 25 years. But yeah, massive Bolton fan. Popped up one day on Twitter that it was Tony Kelly's birthday. And I was working one night, and funnily enough, Tony Kelly come into Casa Nostra, the restaurant where I worked at the time. And obviously, me being a big fan, went over to him, wished him happy birthday, shook his hand, and he said, "How do you know it's my birthday, son?" So I said, "Oh, I'm a big Bolton fan. I've seen it on Twitter this morning." So then I started serving him the whole night, made sure I looked after him. So then he turned around and he asked, "Is this your full-time job?" So I said, I'm like in a gap year where I've just finished uni. I said, I've got my degree in primary school PE and sports coaching. And he took my email address, got my number, forwarded it on to like people within Bolton Wanderers in the community. And then that was the reason I got my job, just by Tony Kelly. She's mentor, really, yeah.
Brilliant. So is that a thing where it's obviously you've treated him well of an evening, I guess, because obviously it's your job, but is it that the thing where you should treat people how you want to be treated yourself? And obviously that's led to doors being open for you. That's a good life example, that, isn't it, I guess?
I'd say so, yeah. Like, obviously treat everybody the same when I was working there, but just because he was an ex-Bolton legend, well, still a Bolton legend, because obviously I give him more time, I think, and he turned around and called me a nice lad and said, "You'd be perfect at our place."
Brilliant.
It's his birthday today, isn't it? Interestingly.
His?
Yeah.
No way, yeah. So
yeah.
6 years ago today, I met him then.
Never look back. There you go. So how man's that? We didn't know that before we got you on, mate. So
I didn't either.
Yeah, interesting. So I mean, again, something we spoke about earlier. I didn't really have an accurate understanding of what Bolton Wanderers in the community was. I just assumed that all you lot who walk around with, with the lanyards on and that all work for the club. But could you?
Well, that's my dog. She seems to be talking to people. She's yeah.
I'm glad it weren't your cat. Jesus, we would have a problem. My God.
I thought it was Ben, to be honest.
Well, it was his nan calling him for his tea. So, could you, for the viewers, give them an overview of what Bolton Wanderers in the community is and what it does and its involvement at the club?
Yeah, so Bolton Wanderers in the community is the charity arm of the football club. So we use the power of the badge, represent the club, and basically go about the community doing all the good work that we do. So there's loads of different areas. Obviously, health and well-being, the part that I work in is just a small brand of it. So they do a lot with schools, got an inclusion sector, disability area. There's absolutely loads. I could be here all day. But basically what we do is we go about different areas, represent. A lot of people misconcept it as just being football. We still do a lot of football coaching and work with kids and part of development programs and soccer schools and stuff like that. But we do a lot more than just football and just go about the community, basically changing people's lives every day.
Massive, innit? Yeah, I think there's anybody who knows me will know that I'm a Bolton Wanderers nerd, and I had no clue and how massive it was and how much work you guys do. It's unbelievable.
I'd say at the minute it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger all the time, and more people are starting to know and realise what we do. Like I said before, a lot of people just think it's football, whereas a lot more than that.
I think a lot of people as well think it, and take this the right way, see it's like, a bit of a box ticking exercise. Oh, we're in the, but it's just nothing like that, is it? It's like, it's a massive part of what goes on behind the scenes at the club. Yeah.
It's fantastic. And like I said before, being a big Bolton fan, going representing your club every day, it's brilliant.
How can people get involved?
I'd say one of our key areas to look out for is social media. We always post a lot of stuff about on social media. So we work with literally not all the way up to whenever you pass away. But there's a wide range of activities. But I'd say social media, the website. Obviously, on the website, it's got our impact report, which shows literally all the areas and all the statistics of people and stuff we've covered throughout the year.
What we'll do as well for the viewers, we'll put some information through our socials to give you links to Bolton Wanderers in the community. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Ben. So have a look on there. I tell you, it's brilliant. It really is. Obviously, can we bring that question up, please? In fact, I think I can do it, can't I?
Oh, check you out. Chris is on the buttons.
You ready?
Here we go.
How mad me. Watch this. I think this is and you know what, David? This is one of the first questions I asked Jack when we did Fit Trotters, and it's a brilliant question. And Jack, would you like to answer that? What is it like having Sharon Britton as a boss?
No pressure here. No pressure.
None at all. She watches.
She's absolutely class. Like when, obviously, I'm in awe every time I meet her. But she's just so down to earth. I've worked for the club for 6 years now, and prior to Sharon Britton and Football Ventures coming in, it wasn't a nice place to work. You'd walk down the corridors, everybody'd have a face on, no one wanted to be there. But I think what she's done to the club, the way she's turned it around, and everyone's coming to work with a smile on the face. When you meet her, she's so down to earth. She's asking you about your day. She's talking to you. She knows everybody as well by name, which goes a long way. I think Fergie used to be like that at Man United. Like when people higher up know everybody's names, it means a lot. But yeah, she's a really nice woman. And what you see, out there. Like what everybody sees is literally what she's like at work. She's really, really down to earth.
How many people work at the club now, Jack? Just to give that some context, she knows everybody's names. How many people are there now?
I wouldn't like to guess, to be fair. You've obviously got you've got all the hotel staff, then you've got the club staff, then you've got the coaching staff, you've got people who work behind the scenes within the club, and then you've obviously got all the Bolton Wanderers in the community as well.
Yeah, it's massive.
But it's massive. I wouldn't like to guess. I wouldn't try and find it out for you Monday.
Yeah, no, it'd be good that. No, it'd be good. It just gives a bit of context. You know what I mean? It's like what goes on behind the scenes about managing the club, and everybody talks about. I think Ian Evatt speaks about it quite a lot. That a lot of praise has to go to everybody behind the scenes, and how many people are actually there. It's just. I think somebody mentioned it a few weeks ago. It's just enormous. So the new sort of initiative through the Bolton Wanderers in the community. Obviously, I mentioned it earlier. It's obviously a really, really hot topic in the media spotlight, which is gambling in sport. And Bolton have been huge with that in terms of removing any sort of betting links with the club and all that kind of stuff. So the new initiative starts this Thursday, the 5th of October, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And it's football fans and betting. So could you give us a bit of an insight into what the initiative entails and how you'll be involved with that, Jack?
Yeah, cool. So we'll be working with people again within the community, not to stop gambling completely or betting completely, but to gain control of it and to basically have the coping strategies to help you if it does exceed those limits and stuff. But it's about making those small changes to reduce the amount of time and the amount of money that you're gambling each week, so that again, if it does exceed those limits, you've got coping strategies and people there to support you and help you.
So very much like the Fit Trotters thing in the sense that it was like one of the biggest takeaways for me, pardon the pun, was that it was it was never like sort of drilled into you, like slapping you around the head with it. It was all about the just small incremental changes that amount to something bigger in terms of life impact.
I think it's been put about social media quite a lot over the past 4, 5, 6 weeks to try and get people to sign up. Everybody has their own opinions on it, but it's as if it's been misconcepted around us saying you've got to stop gambling completely if you want to join this program. It's a case of no, you can still continue to bet, but can we help you with those different coping strategies? And if it does obviously excess, then there's people there to support and help you.
Yeah.
Obviously, it kind of goes without saying, I'm sure obviously everything's confidential and stuff, but if people want to sign up, Jack, how do they go about doing that?
Again, it's on social media, so on our Bolton Wanderers in the Community Twitter page, Facebook page, Instagram, and LinkedIn. They'll see the post around football fans and betting, and then there's just a little link on there where it's a Google Forms document. They'll sign up to that, and then we'll be in touch with them to get them signed up.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things as well. I think, that having that support system in the background is obviously very useful for anybody who's got any form of addiction in it. So, great work. Really, really good. So
just on that, what you need to look out for, viewers, is the acronym FFAB, which is Football Fans and Betting. As I say, we'll put out some links to Bolton Wanderers in the community through our socials as well. But one thing I've noticed is obviously being involved since the turn of the year is how prominent Bolton Wanderers in the community are on social media. The work that they do in that respect is bang on. Some great exposure, and it's done the right way. So absolute hats off to you for that. Jack, thanks, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
Just so you're aware, I said I wouldn't mention it, but he won an award last night, and we're all buzzing for him because he's one of the most humble. I'm really embarrassing him now. I'm sorry, mate, but I have to. He's one of the most humble people you ever meet. But he won an award. Can you Jack, can you just let us know what the award was for? Obviously, there was a team award as well for the whole of the BWITC team. So, do you want to just give us a bit of a lowdown on that?
Yeah, so it was a Bolton Health and Wellbeing Awards. So everybody from Bolton who take part in different health and wellbeing within the community. They won Team of the Year, representing Bolton Wanderers in the community, and then I got an individual award as well. So it was male outstanding contribution to health and wellbeing. I couldn't believe I did it. To be fair, I still can't believe it now.
So
when they said my name out, I was like, no way.
I'd love to have seen that, mate. Congratulations, and I said to you earlier, well deserved. What you do is phenomenal. So thanks for coming on. You're always welcome back on the pod whenever you want to come.
Thank you.
And it is phenomenal. It is phenomenal as well, Jack, because Chris, honestly, like every single time I see him, he talks about how much weight he's lost. Like
he's done very well. He's done really well.
Stomach and telling him how his shit size has gone down. And I don't know if he's trying to tell me something. I'm not sure. What, you know.
I'm saying nothing, Colin.
Probably
I'm saying nothing. And you know what? Joking aside, it's not something that you should be embarrassed about. And I think one of the biggest things, without blowing too much smoke up Jack's bum, is one of the biggest takeaways from the whole experience was the fact that there was no judgment. Whether you're a participant or somebody who was leading the thing, there was no judgment. Everybody was given a fair crack and treated exactly in the same way as each other. And that speaks volumes for the programme. It was phenomenal. So thanks again, mate, for that. We're going to kick you off now. We're going to close the show. But thank you so much for your time, mate, and congratulations again on a well-deserved award. And
cheers, guys.
The rest of the team.
Absolutely.
Top man.
Thanks for joining us.
Cheers, Jack.
Bye.
See you, mate.
So, lovely to hear from Jack there. There has been a link put in, so I'll put the link in if you are interested in the Tackling Betting in Bolton programme that they're running, then you can have a look at that. So the link is in the chat. If you want to have a look, then feel free. A bit of philanthropy for your Sunday evening, and I believe, Colin, you've got another little bit to... I can use the big words too, see, Chris.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But I believe, Colin, you've got another one too.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Obviously, in terms of like helping out the local community, friend of the show, Shane, who runs the Market Tavern in Horwich, is doing a clothes collection for children for the whole of this week. So if anybody's got any clothes that are in kind of good nick, you'd like to receive yourself, yada yada yada, feel free to drop it off at the Market Tavern in Horwich, and obviously that's going to go to a really, really, really good cause. So obviously if you're local to the area, fantastic. If not, obviously I'm sure you can find a way to get it there. But yeah, that'd be greatly appreciated.
So like Cole said, that runs so is it next Sunday, Cole?
Yeah, a week today. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so
there you have it.
It's
been a pleasure as always. Really enjoyed tonight's episode, and we hope you did too. If you did enjoy it, then leave a like on the video on whatever platform you're watching on, whether it be Twitter, YouTube, or Facebook. Then leave a like and subscribe to us on YouTube. It massively helps. But also, if you fancy just sharing the post on Twitter after the episode goes out, so it's on there now. If you are on Twitter, just retweet it. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know if you enjoyed it. We're always after your feedback.
Feedback, positive and negatively as well. It's not all about positivity. If you think things that we can, improve on or get better at, let us know. One thing I'd like to say as well, in terms of like liking and subscribing and retweeting and yada 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 yada. If you're watching through Apple Podcast, which I do, sad, I listen to it back. Ways in which I can improve on. If you can give us a review on that, because what that does is that boosts us up to the algorithms for like Bolton Wanderers related content on that platform. So you don't have to say anything really, just rate it and get on with the rest of your day, but that'd be great as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Support is really appreciated, by the way. We don't think we say it enough, but it is massively.
Certainly is. It's hugely appreciated. I'll show you just on Spotify. If you head over to the Fanzone Pod and you click this little button right here where the stars are. You can leave us a rating, and it massively helps us out. But like I said, on Twitter, wherever you're watching, give us a share. Let us know your thoughts. As long as it's constructive, we are all ears. But thank you very much for joining. We appreciate you taking out some time on your Sunday evening to spend it with us. And have a fantastic week to everyone who's watching. And we'll catch you in a bit. See you later.
You